My name is Clea Knight and I work for Manny & Daniels, the Fund Manager for UK Aid Direct. We hope you find this video useful. It should only take 10 minutes to watch. As I'm sure you know, UK Aid Direct is DFID's central funding mechanism for awarding grants to small and medium-sized civil society organisations working to reduce poverty overseas. Our mandate is to support grantees, so this video starts our series of online learning products for existing and prospective grant holders. This user guide is aimed at UK Aid Direct grantees and also applicants to provide some summary tips on disability. It is, however, relevant to anyone implementing development projects anywhere in the world. We outline DFID's approach and the Washington Group's 5 questions on disability, which are considered best practice. We also give some practical examples on how to operationalise this approach for grant holders. The DFID Disability Framework sets out the UK's vision for a world where no one is left behind, highlighting the need for disaggregated data to provide accurate prevalence figures around disability for decision makers. The disability team at DFID provided us with an overview of this approach, stating, "We will maintain our commitment to be a global authority on disability data so that every person counts and advocate for the use of the Washington Group questions to ensure we collect accurate and robust internationally comparable data on disability." There are a few simple steps that you can take to help address disability in your project's reporting. First of all, to collect the data, you can revisit existing surveys or data collection systems and add questions on disability. Then you can use this data to analyse how effectively you are serving people with disabilities through your project. Lastly, you can look within your sector for opportunities to advocate for the inclusion of questions on disability into other surveys and systems. The Washington Group created a set of 6 internationally agreed questions for stakeholders to use to ask about disability. They ask about difficulty in functioning instead of using a clinical definition of disability, to avoid stigma around disability influencing the answers. All UK Aid Direct grant holders should integrate these questions into the data collection process, so that going forwards we are contributing to the body of evidence on disability globally. We all worry about additional data requirements, so you will be glad to hear that asking these 6 questions only adds 1 minute 15 seconds per person. There are 4 response categories, and it is suggested that the last 2 categories indicate the presence of a disability. In a webinar run for UK Aid Direct grant holders, representatives from the Washington Group and Sightsavers International gave some advice on how to integrate these questions into your programs. The social and political context matters. People collecting the data should ensure they understand the context and need to make sure they ask the questions in the right way to get good quality data. People collecting the data should also know why they are collecting information on disability. They should also be able to answer basic questions about disability and guide people to relevant local services if possible. Here, Mitch Loeb from the Washington Group explains how to ensure the questions are appropriate to your context.
The core of the questions remain as close to true as possible, but the add-ons, even if wearing glasses, even if using hearing aids, steps, those additional items, if they don't exist, then you don't need to ask them. We found that in several countries. In Bangladesh, I was working and they said, we don't have hearing aids in this country. Then there's no point in asking it. Just simply, do you have difficulty hearing? Do you have difficulty seeing? Do you have difficulty walking? So they are adaptable in that sense, but we wouldn't recommend further adaptations or modifications to the questions.
It is important to be prepared for challenges and to respond to issues as they emerge. Not everyone that you encounter will be supportive of the changes you're proposing by adding the questions to existing data collection systems. The Washington Group have translated the questions into many different languages to help keep them standardized. However, it could be that they're not translated into the local language wherever you are. Please follow the guidelines provided by the Washington Group on how to translate the questions if this is the case. Pauline Thivillier from Sightsavers gives some advice on how to operationalize these questions.
We also try to integrate as much as possible into existing practices to improve efficiency. We didn't want to create a parallel data collection system. We didn't want to change tool because data collector were used to it, and we were also aware of the workload and cost implication of those things. So as much as possible, we integrated it with the demographic questions such as age, sex, name, etc. However, you also have to be aware of where the data is collected. And in a very busy hospital, for example, we really struggle with integration because at the registration desk, you might have 10 people, there is no queue, there is no privacy, there is no confidentiality. So it's something that we had to take into account and adapt our approach.
It is vital that everyone involved in the data collection process, the analysis and the use of the data that is being collected, are aware of the importance of what they are doing. This sense of ownership will really help to ensure the data is used effectively. In order to generate this sense of ownership, you must train all those involved with the exercise, ensuring that the training is tailored to the local situation and covers all the elements of the data journey. Fred Smith from Sightsavers explains why training is such an important part of the process.
Wherever you are, you need to do good sensitization and training for data collectors. It doesn't have to be particularly long, it just needs to be the core principles. Digging a little bit further, the challenge will be around stigma and discrimination. So where there is a lot of discrimination already, and that may be where there's a lack of awareness around disability rights, that will be the kind of biggest challenge.
So, good luck with your efforts to report on disability through your projects. It really is a vital part of ensuring we address disability as we have pledged to do in the global goals. Here, Pauline describes the positive effect that integrating data collection on disability has had on their work.
We found that just by engaging in the data collection process, data collector reported a transformative effect. So by starting being sensitized in disability and collecting that data collectors started giving special attention to people with disability. When we did interview and focus group discussion, like that change in attitude over the course of the pilot was reported by everyone. They also started to adjust the program partners. So partners started to include disability in community sensitization. They started thinking about referrals, and it's things we didn't even think about at the start that cannot happen naturally with the desensitization.
Thank you for watching. The links here provide further information on this topic.